Hi there, I'm Lisa. I'm Jessie's mom. I just want to take a few minutes to share with you guys about her journey with a massive brain injury. She was a spastic mute quadriplegic for a long time, both sides of her skull removed. Little hope of survival, and she did survive, and then little hope of anything else. But with God's grace and a lot of rehab and a lot of wonderful support and determination and an attitude of never, never, never giving up, my beloved daughter is working now. And I wanted to share a little bit about how we got there. After her brain injury, well, first she was 15 and she was in Mustang Middle School, ninth grade on the President's Honor Roll on a track to become a pediatric physical therapist. She was a gymnast for 9 years. So very physically active and very, very, very smart. And she went skiing with her church group and had this terrible accident. So fast forward a little bit, we get her home from the hospital and she is not talking, moving. She's in a wheelchair, total care. And I stay home caring for her. And we began this long journey of rehabilitation. And that rehabilitation included range of motion every 2 hours, stimulating her to swallow, um, putting her in a standing frame, moving her hand, teaching her to crawl, to stand, to write, to eat, to potty train, all of that. She was able to do nothing. But through a lot of wonderful resources of rehab and friends and prayer and, of course, God, she rehabbed enough to where I began to do homeschooling on her. So after several months of homeschooling her, and literally from scribbles to ABCs to 1, 2, 3s to 0 plus 0, just like kindergarten all the way up, I felt like she was beginning to remember some things from her previous education. And I began to look at what would it look like to put her back into high school. Went and looked at several of those programs, and I couldn't bring myself to do it because so many of those students in there were so severely disabled that I was afraid that Jessie wouldn't get the individualized attention that she would need to become the best that she could be. And I knew that that would require a lot of one-on-one. So I did homeschooling. And then when I began to think about a GED, I began to look at different places I could get a GED for her. But I never really could click into a path. And I was talking to one of my dear friends who had a friend, Susan Adams, that worked at Francis Tuttle. And she said, I believe she has a GED program. So I went over and met with her. And through a lot of grace and a lot of gift and a lot of support, Jessie entered the GED program, and she had some tutors and had a lot of help, and they were able to get her GED. Well, from that point, her occupational therapist really wanted her to become involved in this program called Project Search, which helps students with disabilities begin to prepare to enter the workforce. Well, what we didn't know is in order to make application to Project Search, you have to have 1 year of VOTEC. I had no idea how my daughter was going to go to VOTEC, much less do an application and get accepted to VOTEC. But once again, I just never gave up and kept talking and finally found a special needs program at Francis Tuttle VOTEC in the culinary department. And she went 1 full year to Francis Tuttle in the culinary department. And then after she finished that year, she made application to go into the Project Search, which was a several pages application. Then she had to go in by herself and interview with 3 or 4 people from the hospitals. And Project Search is a program where Francis Tuttle partners with Mercy Hospital and St. Baptist Integris to take these students with special disabilities and put them into a working environment with job coaches to train them to see, number one, what are they capable of doing? And number two, to see where their gifts and skills are and to see maybe the places they shouldn't be, but yet to interact with normal, hardworking people, busy people, and seeing how they maneuvered through all that. I was scared to death. The hospital was huge. I had no idea. My daughter could barely maneuver in our house, much less maneuver in a huge hospital. And that's when I met George and Janet and Bruce, and they were wonderful people. But I need to back up just a minute. So we made application to Project Search. And she did her interview and they declined her. And I just said, okay, if that's not where God wants her, we'll just find another way. And then, interestingly enough, a few months later, we got a call from Bruce who said one of the students had dropped out, wouldn't be able to come, and would Jessie still be interested? Because he truly believed that she had such capability and possibility, and he really wanted her to have that opportunity. So he stepped up and put a lot of faith in her and took her under his wing along with Janet and George. And they began this long journey with Jessie in Integris Baptist, teaching her in different areas of the hospital. I think she worked in the volunteer department for 6 weeks, and then she worked in data entry for 6 weeks. I think she worked in supplies and up on one of the floors of the hospital delivering trays to new mamas, I think. All these different experiences, and then they would come to a conference afterwards and they would teach them and train them and talk to them and help them have appropriate behavior and to work on those areas that they really needed some help in. Well, when she finished Project Surge, George began to really look for her job placement, and they did some training for us parents, that we needed to go out and network and find possibly a job for our students. And so we all began networking, and I happened to have a dear friend in our church that has a home health agency very close to our house, and she called and said, I would like to interview Jessie for a job. I understand she's looking for employment, and I'm looking for an office assistant. And as I began to go, well, and she goes, I know about your daughter. I've been following her journey for a very long time. Would you have her fill out an application and bring it to me, and then we'll set up a time for an interview? And it was so beautiful because she treated her just like a normal employee, and that just made my heart soar. So Jessie filled out her application, and she went in for her interview. And then she came back out with a piece of paper that said, Mom, I need some help getting some resources. I need some personal references, not resources, references. And so we sat down and did personal references for her, and she took those back in. And Ivy told her that she would get back with her in a couple of days after she checked that personal reference. Well, in a couple of days, she called and offered Jessie a job if Jessie would like to work for her, told her what her hourly wage would be, and told her that she would like for her to come up with her own hours that would be good for her, what would work for her. And so Jessie came up with the hours of 8:30 to 12:30, 5 days a week. And Jess is now going on her 3rd year at Southwest Home Care, which is just absolutely beautiful. I wanted to talk a little bit about Jessie's social life. One of the gifts we got out of Project Search was she became very good friends with 3 of the girls in there, Michaela and Ashley and Brittany. And I'm going to show you a picture of their Project Search. Their Project Search family. There's Bruce and Janet, and there's George in the back, and Jessie is right there in the front with her friend Ashley, Michaela, and there is Brittany. And there's Tristan. They have still remained friends. They do each other's birthday parties. They go bowling. They go swimming together. They go to the movies. They do New Year's Eve parties. Sometimes they just do get-togethers where they just play games for hours. They call each other on the phone and text and share fun things, and it's just really special. This is Jessie's GED that she got, which is just one of my most favorite things. As a mom, I always wanted her to graduate. There she is in her cap and gown, which is just beautiful. And this is her certificate of completion from Francis Tuttle. This is her Jim Thorpe Courage Award that she won from the Jim Thorpe Rehab, being just so courageous. This is a Jessie Boone Courage Award that her gymnastics gives away every year at the end of their banquet now in honor of Jessie. Just such beautiful honors. And you saw this rendering of Jessie before her accident, and there was actually an artist that drew that for her, one of our favorite things. So I just want to say, as a mom of someone who has gone through great pain and great tragedy and great suffering, to never, never, never give up. Anybody that would have seen Jessie, her first 2 years of her injury would have never imagined that she could have accomplished what she has accomplished. And even now, as I'm sitting here speaking, she's in the office working. I'll show you a video of her working. Right now, I think she's shredding documents, but she is an office assistant. She does data entry. She does filing and sorting. She does shredding. She does so many different things in that office that a lot of people would get tired of doing or maybe complain. And she's just so happy all the time. She is such a blessing and such a joy. She never complains. She loves getting up every morning, getting dressed and putting her makeup on and fixing her hair and going to work. And she loves getting a paycheck. She gets a very nice paycheck every 2 weeks, and that paycheck pays for some of her rent. She also pays for some of her groceries and her clothes and makeup. And she also pays for her social activities, whether it's movies or bowling or going out to eat. And then she saves a little bit of money, and she gives money to her church. She loves to tithe and go to church every Sunday, and has her own Sunday school class there that she goes to. Jessie will always live with us. She cannot drive due to her processing is very slow, and her vision, she's got major visual defects that you would never know unless you really were paying attention, because she has compensated so nicely for that. She will probably live with us the rest of our lives, which is just fine with me. I'm just so happy to have her with us. As far as future plans, I don't know. Ask Jessie, and she doesn't really live in the future. She and her dad and I, since we've been through this journey with Jessie, we live one day at a time. Jessie has seizures, and she has a lot of health issues that have reconciled, and she's healed now. But we know that because of the severity of her injury, that each day with her is a gift. And so we just choose to live into each day to the fullest, giving God thanks for all that He has given back. She is just a precious human being. She loves all people and all things. She never criticizes. She's never rude. She's patient and kind, and she sees good in everything. And if you're having a bad day, all you got to do is be around Jessie Boone, and she'll make you giggle and laugh. She is just such a delight, and we are so grateful to have her. So that's my story, and I hope I didn't talk too long. Good luck. I guess the biggest message I have is, in this field that you're going into with special education, be the one to believe that all things are possible, to never give up. Even when you go, I don't even know how this is going to work. Don't ever be afraid to try. Don't ever be afraid to reach for the stars. There were a lot of people reaching for the stars with Jess and us too. We have always reached and will continue to reach for the stars. But you be that one to reach out and go that extra mile for that one that doesn't seem like that risk is going to be worth it. And I tell you what, it will be, because you will be surprised, because God is in the business of miracles, and He wants His people to be happy and productive. And I think that's why people are called into the service field of special education or nursing, like I'm a nurse, I'm a hospice nurse, to help people when nobody else might be willing to help them. So thank you for going the extra to reach out to those people who need some extra help, and you will be the one to be extra blessed. And God bless you guys. Bye.